Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on this 2012 Bessacarr E435. So based on the Fiat Ducato, this will be on a 2.3 turbo diesel, and we'll start here under the bonnet. So on the left hand side we've got pretty much all of your kind of refillable fluids, if you like, for the engine. Not that you should really have to do much to it, but this is where all of it is. On the left hand side we've got your washer fluid at the top, the power steering fluid underneath this little cap here, engine coolant at the front, which you should check when the engine's cold, and you can see at the moment it's at the perfect level. We've then got your brake fluid. Sorry about that, noisy bikes. We've got the brake fluid at the top here in this reservoir attached to the servo just behind it. Engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here, and your engine oil dipstick is this red topped one just down here at the front. 3.5 ton chassis plate just here, so you can drive this particular vehicle on any car license. You then got your air filter down here inside this box, and the only other thing to really point out in these particular chassis is that the engine battery actually sits down here under the floor, under this big cover. So if you want to jump start the vehicle, Fiat have quite cleverly put a point just here underneath this little cover. So this is your positive terminal just here for your engine, and the earthing point is this one just here at the front, and it does say that there. So if you want to jump start the vehicle, you've got your points underneath the bonnet just there, meaning that you don't have to take the floor up to get to the battery if you don't want to. So the bodywork on this particular vehicle is fantastic, to say the least. We know the previous owner really well, and he is very, very local to us here. So the first locker we come to on the near side, in fact, I'm just going to run you through something else quickly. Sorry to be a bit jumpy on that one. So we've got the bonnet release handle here just inside the door, inside the passenger door that is. Your jack and wheel brace kit is down here underneath the passenger seat. We've then got behind the door, we've got the fuel filling point inside there, which you will need your ignition key in order to open. All right, so the first actual locker we come to on the near side of the vehicle underneath the Bessacarr badge is this one here, which is basically some underfloor storage underneath the side settee and where your leisure battery is stored. So as standard, you will get this double battery sized battery locker. So you do have the option of fitting a secondary leisure battery if you want to in the future. It's just something they do as standard on these particular vehicles. So to put this back on, all you have to do is just drop this on, line it up with the little bits here, making sure that you go underneath these pipes, and then you've got these little sort of white tabs that you can just screw back on. Do that on all of them. I won't do it just now, but so that's where your leisure battery is, and then as I say, you've got loads of storage under here as well. This little cap just here is a winter cover for this vent just here, which is for your boiler. I'm going to leave that off for the minute because you have to have it off in order to use it. So I'll show you it working in a minute. You've then got these two vents just here. If I just sort of show you where we are. These two vents just here to the left of the habitation door. What these essentially are is access to the back of the fridge. They do currently have their winter covers on, so you can take these off if you want to. Just need to put these little bits up basically. So yeah, I mean this cover at the top should really be off for when it's in use. So just pop that off so you can see how that looks. So you shouldn't ever really need to get behind these, but that's just, I'm just letting you know that's where the fridge vents are, just there. I'll just have a little look underneath, make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. Okay, so you've got your awning light on at the moment there as well, just so I can show you that working really nicely. So to the back of the van, we've got the reversing cameras in the original fitted slot up there. You've also got your tow bar, which would have been an original fitment, along with lots of nice kind of curvature to the vehicle. Again, all of the bodywork itself is in lovely condition. I can't really fault it on anything really. No nasty scuffs or bangs anywhere. So this offside, the first locker we come to at the back is going to be the toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette, and you have got the separate flush container. So you need to fill this up basically with your pre-mixed pink fluid, which is your flush fluid, and then keep your eye on this little gauge here on the right hand side. So at the moment it's pretty much empty, so I will fill this up for you after the video, but you want it to be about here. You can see there is a line there already actually, but that's about halfway up, and that's where you want the flush fluid to be generally. So that's the flush. To remove the actual toilet cassette, we've got a little green tab down here. Lift the green tab up and the toilet cassette will come out towards you. You can then take the entire thing out like so. So this is the bigger sized toilet cassette, which is always handy. So all you need to know really is that you empty it out from here. So you take this little cap off, and then you empty it out from there. Whilst you're emptying it out, you should be holding down this little green button at the back. And that's it. Push it all the way back in again to make that seal up, and then you're good to go. So down here on the offside, you can just about see there, if I just get a bit closer, you can see there your wastewater drain off point. So if you want to drain out your wastewater from the waste tank, that's where you go to do that. The freshwater drain is inside the tank, inside the vehicle, which I will show you when we get in the van. So this locker just here is the gas locker. You can see we've got space for 2 6-kilo propane bottles. So all you need to know really with the gas locker, well, a couple of things on this particular one, but I'll run you through it. So we've got anti-clockwise round to the left, turns the bottle on. Clockwise all the way down, round to the right, turns it off. So make sure that you turn this off before you start driving. Only other thing to point out on this one is that you've got the crash sensor on the regulator here. So if you ever find that you turn the gas on and you can't get anything to work inside, come out here, press and hold on this little green button for 3 seconds, and it should reset it and allow the gas to come through. All right, so that's the gas locker. We've then got underneath that, we've got the hookup point. So I've got the vehicle hooked up at the moment, so I can show you some of the 240 volt appliances working, but that's where you hook the van up, just there, nice and easy. We've then got the external freshwater filling point. So if you want to fill up your freshwater tank, that's where you do so from there. Has got a key inside there, so you can lock that up so no one else can get inside of it. And I think that is about it for the outside. So what I'm going to do is just jump in to the cab and just show you a few bits and pieces that we've got in here. So the actual cab itself on this particular vehicle is a seriously high spec. So you have got the reversing camera screen up there, which just looks like a rear view mirror, which is really nice. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox as opposed to the 5. You can lock and unlock the cab from inside, just here on this little switch panel there at the bottom, next door to the hazard lights. You've got the steering wheel functionality on here, so you can adjust the radio and you can answer and decline calls and things like that from there if you connect it all up like that. You've then got your cruise control function down here, indicators and lights on the left hand side. Washers and wipers are on the right. You've also got the electric adjusting mirrors from this little thing just down here, and the air conditioning from that switch just there in between those two dials. You can get this little thing here, is a phone holder type thing. I'm not sure whether it's been left in the vehicle somewhere, more than likely, but not sure. I know that you can get a little phone holder type thing to go in there. It's just something they came out with this sort of year. But yeah, so that's about it for the cab really. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn around and walk through to the back end of the vehicle so I can show you what we've got going on in here. A little bit more sort of exciting bits and pieces in the back end, but I've still got to show you around the outside and what's going on out there. So before we get started on any of the appliances, we've got the original carpets just here rolled up. We always take the carpets up and clean the floor, and we leave them up like that so that you can decide whether or not you want to put them back down again. Also gives you a good chance to see that the floor's in good condition and there's no sort of nastiness about it. So above the habitation door we have got the control panel. So I personally really like these control panels because I think they're just so simple and easy to use. So in the very center of it we've got a motorhome. All right, a little picture of a motorhome. When you turn the power on, turn this on from this switch just here, everything will come on for a second and then it'll go out. If you're hooked up on the mains, you'll always have this little light here illuminated, telling you that the mains is working. If you've got your awning light switched on, you get this little light come on up here, which is quite nice. And then you've got two more lights. So you've got this light here that's at the back of the motorhome, and another one here, if I switch over to vehicle, that's at the front. Okay, so the reason that you've got those two is so it shows you all the time that you've got the one of these two lights on, it's showing you which battery is powering whatever you're trying to use. So at the moment we've got the lights on, I've got the 12-volt fan on the heater. So at the moment the engine battery is powering us. So I really want to switch over to leisure, because the leisure battery is the one that I want to be charging up, and the leisure battery is the one that's made to power lights and power things that we've got in the back end. So if we want to use the vehicle, basically you want it here at the back on leisure, and you do that just by pressing leisure battery. Okay, you've then got the next most important one really, the one here that says view level. So if I press that, just have to press it once, it'll come up showing you your leisure battery voltage, the freshwater level, wastewater level, and the vehicle battery voltage. So just by pressing that the once, it comes up with all of your levels that you might need to know. So that's how you can see your battery levels and your water levels. Frost protect. Now you don't really need to worry so much about that one, because unless this one's got a tank heater, which I'm not sure that it does, I will just have a little look. It might do. You might have to have a little look through the paperwork for that one. But frost protect is normally either a electronic drain for the boiler, so it will drop all the water out from the boiler, which this one hasn't got the electronic drain, so that's why I'm a little bit umming and ahhing about it. Or it might mean that you've got tank heaters. So it might be worth having a look through the paperwork just to double check on that one. You may well do. But it might just be there as a kind of optional switch. So next door to that, we've got the water pump switch. So we'll turn the water pump on. You'll then be able to draw water through the tap. Cold and then round to the hot. So we've got good pressure. And when we turn the tap off, we just want to make sure that the pump turns itself off, which it has just done. So turning the water pump on and just drawing the water through hot and cold, and then making sure that the pump turns itself off, that proves to us that we've got good pressure, and it also proves to us that the boiler is full of water. If we get water coming through nice and clearly like that on the hot side, the boiler is 100% full, and then you can go ahead and use it however you want to over here, which I'll show you how to do in just a minute. The only other light switch on here is cabin lights, which basically just turns on and off these lights here. All right. Okay, so that's the control panel up there. That's really easy to use. Once you got the hang of it, it'll be like second nature. I am going to go into a little bit more depth in just a second about the boiler. So the boiler itself in this particular vehicle, and actually most motorhomes, is pretty much the most expensive part. All right, and it's the part that you really want to look after as best you can. So what you've got down here, if I can just lift this up a little bit, down here underneath this seat, we've got the boiler itself, which is this blue box here on the left hand side, and a little yellow tab down there. So that little yellow tab is the drain off point for the boiler, and that is what's going to allow you to drain the water out of it in the winter. So if you're going to leave the vehicle over winter and you think it might get seriously cold, you need to drain that boiler out just by lifting that little yellow tab upright. Lifting it upright drains all of the water out of it onto the floor, and you just basically don't then have to worry about it freezing up and expanding and sort of creating leaks. When you come to using the vehicle again, close down the drain off again so it's flat like it is now, and then all you have to do is turn your water pump on, open the tap up on the hot side, and just wait for it to start coming through like it was just a minute ago. Once it started coming through like it was a minute ago, that means that the boiler has filled itself back up, all 10 litres has filled back up, and you've got water able to run through to the taps. So that's all you have to do. That's how you winterize it, that's how you drain it out, and that's how you fill it back up. Really simple. Right, so what should I show you first? So as I say, you've got the hot and cold mixer tap here for the sink. Typical eldest Bessacarr English vehicle thing is that you've got this full-sized cooker. So you've got and another thing that's really good about the British vehicles like this one is that not only do you get lots and lots of extras just like as standard, everything always tends to work on mains or gas. So rather than everything just being gas, you generally, like in this vehicle, have the option for either all the time. So in this case, we've got the 3-burner hob at the top, and we've got an electric hot ring at the back here that you can use if you've got the mains plugged in. So at the moment, I've got the mains cable plugged in, so I can come here and turn this cooker on like that. So that ring is now going to start heating up. All right, so that's how you do that. You've then got the 3 burners. So they've all got an ignition switch just here. And so we've got bottom left, bottom right, and top right. So to use those, just push them in like that, and the flame will come on. All right. You've then got below that the grill. So the grill is this one just here. So if I just do the same on this one. Make sure both sides of that light up, because the thermocouple is on one of the sides, not both. Just allowing that to warm up a little bit. And now let go of it. So that's how you use the grill. If you can't quite get down low enough to see it like this, you can just see it in the reflection down there, so you can see it's lit on both sides. So that's the grill. And the oven sits below, and it's just the same. So with the oven, making sure that it sort of, they're a little bit difficult to use unless you've used a gas cooker before, gas oven. Well, I say difficult, they're just a bit different. So what you have to do, you have to make sure that you've allowed that to heat up to a certain amount before it will start sort of changing the amount of gas that's down there. So at the moment I'm turning this between 140 and 240, and it's not changing anything at all, and that's because it's not actually had a chance to warm up yet. So not until it's warmed up will it actually start changing the amount of gas that's put down to it. All right, but that's probably self-explanatory really, but there you go. Okay, so the next appliances we've got the fridge on the left hand side, heater on the right, and then the boiler itself sits down here underneath this seat. So first thing I'm going to show you is the boiler, because it's the first sort of thing in my eye line really. So we've got these 2 switches just here. So the one at the top is the way that you use the boiler on mains. So if you're at a campsite and you're plugged into the mains, or you're at home plugged into the mains, whatever, as long as you've got a mains cable plugged into the vehicle, you can use the top dial if you want to. So you've got up and down. If you press up, that's going to be heating up on a certain amount of amps. From off the top of my head, it's something like 2 or 3 amps. And then if you go down, it's going to start heating up on the, so you sort of double that amount of power. So that's the amount of amps that are being used for the water heater. So that's if you want to use it on the mains. All right, easy as that. If you want to use it on gas, you push up down here for 50 degrees. Just heard it there, light up. Or down for 70. So it just depends how hot you want the water, but that's how you do that there. So gas at the bottom, electric hookup at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to check something first as well before I carry on. So in this cupboard, water heater. There you go, thought so. Right, so let me just check something quickly. There you go. Right, so kind of contradicting myself a little bit now in a way, but in this cupboard up here, it's the furthest cupboard on the off side of the vehicle behind the driver's seat. You've got what is called your power supply unit. Now this is an E435 made by Sargent. Sargent, I absolutely love their power supply units because they're so simple. So this one unit here is the power supply for everything that works on electric, whether it be 12 volt or 240 volt in the whole vehicle. So you've got all of your 12 volt fuses down here, all in one nice place, and all of your mains trip switches at the top. You've got a diagram at the top here on the inside of the cupboard telling you exactly what each fuse and each trip switch does. So if you get any issues whatsoever, you can have a little look in here and just check what it might be. On the left hand side, we've got 4, well, only 3 of them are actually buttons, but we've got 4 things here. So we've got reverse polarity, which means if you're plugged into a hookup that has the wrong polarity, so normally if you're abroad, it will come up there saying reverse polarity, and that's normally okay. It will still work, but it just means that you've got no I think it's the live and the neutral, they're around the wrong way. You've then got charger, so that's the green switch just here, which you can switch off if you want to. Not that I would recommend it. So that's basically the charger being allowed to work, being switched on and off when you're hooked up on the mains is what that switch does there. We've then got space heater and water heater. All right, so both of these 2 switches here can be left on for the majority of the time if you are going to want to use the heating and the hot water on the mains, because turning both of these switches on, all they do is give power to the actual dials that tell it to turn on. Okay, so if I just give you an example of that, this here on the, I'm going to go through this properly in a minute, but this dial just here is for the space heater on mains. Okay, so if I turn this on to 500 now, it's going to come on and it's working straight away. And the reason that that's coming on and working straight away is because I've got the space heater switch on up here. So if I turn that off, it should just flash on and then turn itself off. There you go. All right, so that's what I'm trying to sort of explain. These 2 switches up here, all they actually do is isolate what they're saying they do. So space heater and water heater. So if I turn this space heater on again now, if you watch the dial there, comes back to life. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is if you want to use the water heater on the mains, you need to make sure that the water heater switch is illuminated on this controller up here first. Okay, so I'm going to leave those 2 on just for the minute, just because I know I'm going to show you how they work. Okay, so yeah, Sorry if that was a bit confusing, but I was thinking about it as I did it. I thought, pretty sure there's a switch for it over there as well, so that's why I sort of went back and forwards a little bit. So we've got electric on the water heater, gas on the water heater, but just make sure that you've got the water heater switch on in the power supply unit. Okay, so since we've been just been talking about the space heater anyway, this is your heating for the vehicle. This is a Truma Ultra Heat. So Truma make the heater and the boiler in this particular vehicle. So really simple and super well, efficient, and also really reliable. We very rarely have issues with these Truma Ultra Heats. So the way that you use these heaters, you can either, like I said a minute ago, you can either use this one on mains or gas, just like everything else. So if you want to light it up on the gas, we've got a dial on the right hand side. This is all you need to light it up on the gas. So on the top of it, we've got 0, which is where we've just turned it off to here, and we've got all the way through 1 to 10. So if you hear, when I turn this round to sort of 2 or 3, unless it's lit straight back up, which it has. So because I've just turned it off, it's so hot in there that it just lit the gas straight back up again. So basically all you have to do to light this up, because you've got an electronic ignition in here, you turn this dial round to sort of 2 or 3. When you do that, the gas will light, well, you'll hear the ignition, and then you have to push down on the button there whilst it tries to light up. So turn it around to 2 or 3, push down, and then just have a little look in here and wait for the gas flame to come on. So if I just do that now, I'll push down and round to 2 or 3. You can see the little gas pilot flame is now on in that little peephole. So I'm just holding it down here now. All right. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up. So I've now let go of that. That's still on. And now I'm going to turn it around all the way up to 10. So you can see there on the left hand side, the main flame has now kicked in as well. Once you can see the main flame kicked in, you can leave this alone. Just make sure that it stays on, but that's it. That's the gas lit up on the heater. All right, so that's how you light it up on gas. So I'm going to switch that off for now because I've already had that on for a minute already. On the left hand side, we've got this other one here, which is just to do with the fan. Okay, so this hasn't got anything to do with the actual heating of the system. This is just how you blow it around to these vents. So we've got on the top of it, we've got off in the middle, A on the right, and on the left. So A means automatic, and that means it will sort of automatically choose for you how fast to blow the air around. I don't really tend to bother with that. I just push it to the left, and then you can choose how fast you want the fan to run yourself. And that's it. So you've got 1 all the way around to 5. Turn it all the way up if you want really good hot air pumping around nice and fast. The only other thing I do tend to mention is that I always recommend to leave these fans running for about 5 to 10 minutes after switching the heater off. And the only reason for that is that these heaters get so unbelievably hot that sometimes when you turn these heaters off, you get a big rush of air or big rush of heat coming out through the top of it, and it will start to warp and break down the wood around it. So allowing the fan to run for about 5 or 10 minutes whilst it cools down pumps around the heat a bit more, sort of, you know, around the vehicle a little bit more, rather than it all coming out here and starting to damage this sort of fablon. So just something I recommend to save anything from warping. All right, so behind us, we've got the Thetford 3-way fridge. So if I just realised again, I missed out something else to do with the space heater. So I feel like I've been going back and forward this whole video. So that's how you use the gas on the space heater. And as I was just showing you a minute ago, we've got this dial here to allow you to use the space heater on the mains. So because we're hooked up on the mains at the moment, this will work. And as I said as well, I've got the space heater switch turned on in the power supply unit, so this has now got power. So I've got 500, 1000 or 2000, and that's basically the amount of watts that the heater will use to heat up. So each amount of watts converts into an amount of amps, and amps is the thing that you really need to look for when you're using the motorhome. So amps is the thing that will basically, you know, catch you out if you are plugged into a I don't know, a 10 amp hookup pole at a campsite. Then that basically means, all it means is that you've got 10 amps to play with inside the vehicle at any one time. So if you choose 2000 up here on the hookup, that's going to be drawing about 8 amps on its own. All right, 2000 watts is about 8 amps. So you've got 10 amps to play with. You've already got 8 amps going there. So you've got 2 amps to play with. So if you come up here to the cooker and put that on 6 and start drawing about 5 or 6 amps from that, you've overloaded straight away. So what it'll do is it'll trip the pole that you're plugged into, and you'll have no power until you go out and trip it back up. All right, so that's why I tend to mention about the amps, because it's just quite important to remember. You know, if I was you, if you are going to use the space heater on mains, use it on 500 or 1000 if you have to, but 500 is about 2 amps, 1000 is 4, and then 2000 is 8. So if you use it on 500, you've got about 8 amps to play with after using the space heater. All right, all the time that you're not using the space heater on mains and you're not using the water heater on mains, I would advise you to switch these 2 buttons off, just in case you forget to turn one of the switches off. But there you go, that's that. All right, the fridge, I'll actually explain it this time. So the fridge itself is very, very simple. I mean, I've had it on for about an hour, and the freezer compartment is absolutely freezing cold. The rest of it's getting there, but it's not completely cold just yet. So that's just to give you an idea of how long these fridges take to get cold. A lot of people ask why they take so long to get cold. But if you think about it, when you get a new fridge at home, which obviously isn't very often, but when you do get a new fridge, it doesn't get cold within half an hour. It takes hours and hours to actually get completely cold, especially when you've got things inside of it. So if you think of it like that, these fridges get hot and cold all the time. So they have to cool down every time you come to use it, whereas a fridge at home just stays cold all the time. So that's the big difference there. It just does take a few hours to get them cold, just so that you know that. So you've got a main on and off switches here to the right of the word Thetford, and that just essentially just gives you power to the whole thing. So if I press and hold on this, it'll turn itself off. The little blue light inside the O on Thetford turns off, and the light inside goes out, so you can see that it's all off. So turning it back on, easy as that. And you've got an automatic energy selecting fridge as well. So this is a auto functionality. So I'm just having a bit of drink on here, which is automatically chosen mains hookup. All right, so we can go through and change that manually. So you've got 12 volt, gas, or electric. So auto will also, you know, it'll automatically choose electric for you if you want it to. So if I just get down a second so I can show you properly. So auto is automatically chosen electric. That's because it's the most efficient way of getting the fridge cold. So we're hooked up on the mains. So it's basically just saying I've chosen mains because it's the most efficient way. If you don't want it on the mains and you want it on gas instead, select that one and it will light up for you. Any second, there you go. And you can select manually 12 volt as well.